Hello, CAP&GOWN scholars. My name is Emery and Emery. I'm a recent graduate from Mae Jemison High School, and I am now a CAP&GOWN teacher slash coach. Today we're going to be going over a little bit more on strategy for attacking the reading ACT, a little bit more in depth. So we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. I'm not one for wasting time, so okay. So strategy. There are two strategies. And when I say there are two strategies, I mean there are two broad, ways that you could go about this. Now, that doesn't mean you have to follow them like word for word, line by line. You can take individual things from each strategy. So for the skim approach, it's got some pros and some cons. So you don't really have to read or retain the whole passage with the skim approach. You simply skim through, highlight, circle whatever keywords, pick out the information needed for answering the questions, and move on. This is good because it's really helpful to eliminate the easier questions. So one that maybe is like on this date, oh well, you already went through and circled all the things that look important, which should include dates and such like that. So it also is helpful because a lot of people feel less drained towards the end when they use the skim approach, simply because sitting there and reading multiple passages, answering all those questions when you're already tired because it's early in the morning can definitely drain you. With the skimming, you're only getting what you need and no more. But it does make main idea questions a little bit more difficult. You might need to save those for the end after you've already gone through and answered questions and skimmed the passage multiple times. You've gotten a better understanding of the passage, but I would definitely save those for the end. And another thing is you constantly need to reference the passage pretty much, because yes, while you did skim and you point out things, when I ask the question, you're like, oh, I think I remember that, let me go find it. But with the speed read approach, you absorb the entire passage all at once. And this is my personal favorite just because I personally like to read. I'm a quick reader. I can read an entire passage, even prose fiction or even natural science, which is super boring, and I can do it in 3 minutes. So I choose this, but I don't really resonate well with the skim approach. I've tried skimming. I end up rereading the same line over and over again. The questions are a little bit more difficult because I'm someone who needs to see everything all together to understand what's going on. Another benefit of this is you most likely won't need to reference the passage often. I know, but this is only if you read effectively. So if you read through the passage, retain everything you just read. So actually read, understand what's going on, everything's good. You shouldn't really need to reference the passage very much unless it's a line question, because you should have retained the knowledge in the passage and you have it in the back of your brain. So when it's like, what is this character like? You should know. You should have gotten a good understanding. And because of that, it leaves a little bit more time for the questions because you're not having to flip back and forth. So you can really sit there and ponder the questions and the possibilities of which answer is right or wrong. But you will have to be able to read an entire passage in 3 minutes or less, which sometimes can be difficult, especially when they're throwing dense information at you that you're not particularly interested in. And on top of that, some people don't like to read at all. So this is definitely not the strategy for you if you don't like to read. You'll just find yourself bored and annoyed. But when it comes to attacking the questions, there are some very important things to keep in mind. So one, there is only one correct answer. I know a lot of times it'll seem like, oh, this one's right, but also this one's really right too, and I don't really know. No. There's one right answer. You just need to find it. Answer every question, and I really do mean every question, because if you guess, that gives you a 1 in 4 chance that you got it right. And that may not seem like a lot of a possibility, but when you consider that's 25% possibility that you got right, there's really no point in you leaving it blank because you're guaranteed to not get any points from that. There's just no point. Always answer every question. Pay attention to keywords and phrases, and this means in both the passage and in the question. So, like I said with the passage, important dates, names, words that highlight sequence. There's a lot of times there will be questions about chronological order. So if it's like first then last, make sure you're paying attention to those. But then with the questions, you want to pay attention to the big words like not. Which one of these is not correct? You have no idea how many times I've read through a question, skipped over that little not, and just got the answer completely wrong. Primarily, which tends to allude to first. So which thing happened first? Which thing is, or it could be which thing is firstly like most important. So which one of these details is primarily reflective of the author's feelings or something. So which one matters the most? Which one comes first when you're thinking about how the author's feeling? And then least likely and most likely. Again, that's kind of like with the not. Really got to pay attention to those. Skipping over it can be the difference between a right and wrong answer. There are no trick questions. I will say that. It'll seem like it, but really it's trick wording. It'll word it in a way that makes you think that you know just what you're talking about, but then you get it wrong. So you really need to make sure you're paying attention to that. Another tip is really try to identify the passage you love the most and or the passage you loved the least. So then you can go at the passages more strategically. So if you know for a fact you hate natural science, it is so hard for you, it's so boring, you can't do it, skip it. Leave that one for last. Start with your favorite. Maybe your favorite's humanities. Start there. Because if you start with the passage you hate the most, you're just going to find yourself bored and drained and not wanting to do it even more. And maybe you'll even end up losing time because you're sitting there rereading something because you just really can't get into this passage. Now, finding the answer. So when it comes down to choosing the answer, sometimes it can be kind of difficult. In times like these, you want to choose the least worst answer. That means you don't really know. You've saved this question for the end. You skipped it multiple times. None of the answers are popping out to you. You can't find it in the passage. Just nothing seems right. Pick the answer that seems the least worst. None of them are the best, but none of them, like, there's gotta be one that isn't the worst. So pick that one. Use process of elimination. You know A and B are wrong. Cross them out. When in doubt, cross it out because you know for a fact that those answers are wrong. So why have them in your face constantly looking at you? Cross them out physically in the answer booklet and focus on the two other answer choices. It helps. I promise. Go with your gut. So a lot of times I'll answer a question, but then I'm like, I don't really know. I mean, like, that really seems right, but also this other one kind of sorta, and I'll change it and I get it wrong. Like, I take this to the extreme where when I finish a test, I don't even review my answers because I second guess myself so hard that when I go back through, I end up getting more questions wrong. So make sure you definitely go with your gut and try to only review the questions that you know for a fact you had no clue about. Skip and come back to any that you know will take too much time. So maybe you just really aren't understand. Like, maybe the first question is the main idea, and you just skim that passage. You didn't retain a single thing. You don't know what's gone on. Skip it. Come back to it. It's fine. Just remember what you skip, so that you never leave anything blank. Um, Moving forward, keep in mind that a lot of answers and questions are constructed with the intention of being ambiguous. They want to confuse you. They don't want you to get it right. The whole point is that this is a challenge. You are trying to beat the test. That is enemy number one in life, this test. But do not let it get to you. Try to reference the passage if need be, and always double check what the question is asking, because a lot of times it's just a simple misread. Sometimes you just didn't see it correctly. And then also make sure you're really reading the answer choices and making sure that that's what's going on. So this is the ECP, or Emergency Contingency Plan. So this is only for when you know you are really pressed for time and you are really pushing for your dream score. So say you started with prose fiction, it took way too long, you sat there rereading the same line over and over again, and next thing you know, you spent 20 minutes on one passage. You know, for a lot of kids, it's really difficult to finish all 4 passages in the time given. So this contingency plan is what I call focus on 3. There are 4 passages. You know you don't have that much time left. You know you messed up. You're just not going to be able to get to it. Skip one. Skip an entire passage. Don't even look at it. Pick the one that you know you're going to struggle with and completely skip it. Don't even look at it. That way you can take all of your allotted time and focus on the other 3 tests. This can get you up to a 27. So say you get all the questions right on the 3 that you did do, that is a 27, which in my book is a very good, at least a very good starter score. Maybe it's not what you want, but it's definitely better than you only ended up answering 2 passages, you left a bunch of stuff blank, and now you got like a 15. So definitely, I would recommend this in the case of emergency. But another thing with the 27 is, because you should never leave anything blank, go ahead and guess through on that last passage, and you can get guess points. So maybe out of those 10 questions, you got 3 right. There's some more points right there. But always remember to answer every question. There's absolutely no sense in leaving anything blank. It's just points you don't get. So, additional resources. Feel free as a Cap&GOWN scholar to contact me with any questions whatsoever. But if you choose to use my phone number, texts are preferred. I don't always answer phone calls simply because, scam calls, all that good stuff. But my email is marian@capandgownproject.org, and my phone number is 256-604-6918. So, that's been pretty much all for this one. So thanks for tuning in, and I just want to ask, where are you guys going? Thank you.